Good morning.
Good morning.
We'll try a third time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for this wonderful turnout, and it's a real privilege for me to be here today to chat to you about my life as a writer and one or two other things. I will start by saying England has the best cricket team in the world. And I think we'll both be in the final of the one days. So we're all looking forward to that. And I think it's one of the many reasons I love this country. It's because I've loved my cricket all my life. I was at Oxford University with the Nawab of Patodi, and I've known every captain of the Indian team since, and more recently, Sachin Tendulkar and Virat Kohli have become friends. And it's lovely because, you know, you get a thrill out of reading the books. I get a thrill out of knowing they read the books. I began life, when I left school, I wanted to be a politician. I wanted to play a role in public life. And I entered what was called the Greater London Council at the age of 26. Actually, far too young. I then entered the House of Commons at the age of 29. And I very foolishly and very stupidly invested all the money I had, and I borrowed some more, which was particularly stupid, and invested it in a company called Aquablast, and I lost everything. And I had to leave the House of Commons as a member of Parliament, and I was facing bankruptcy. And I could not get a job. And I sat down and wrote, not a penny more, not a penny less. And I did not know I was going to be a writer. I just felt that what had happened to me, the experience I had had of losing everything, might be of interest as a novel. So it came as a great shock that actually I was going to end up being a writer. Now, Proust, a very great philosopher, once said, we all end up doing the thing we're second best at. I want all of you to think and realize that the thing you start in life doing when you leave this great school may not be the thing you end up doing. And you should not be frightened of that. You should not be frightened, I want to be a doctor, and then discover, after I have a friend who was a doctor for 15 years, and then suddenly ran an art gallery. You shouldn't be frightened in your lifetime of doing more than one thing. Because I came to writing by mistake. And if I'd remained in the House of Commons, I would never have written a book. So I wonder how many of you out there, I wonder, it's possible you'll do something you haven't even thought about. Because I came to writing by mistake. Wrote my first book, Not a Penny More, Not a Penny Less, and 14 publishers turned the book down. I tell you that so you're not frightened of failure. You're not frightened of something going wrong. 14 people turned down Not a Penny More, Not a Penny Less. The 15th publisher purchased it for £3,000, a tiny sum of money. And it only sold 3,000 copies worldwide. And it went into paperback, and it sold 25,000 in the first month. And that was when I first began to think I might have a career as a writer, not as a politician. And then the world changed overnight. For me, the world changed overnight. I wrote a book called Cain and Abel. And it changed my whole life, literally overnight. Because it was auctioned in the United States of America rather than purchased. And all the great publishing houses read it and then had to bid. And that was the beginning of a very change in my career, because it sold 1 million copies in the first week it came out. And that, of course, literally changed my whole life. And in this country, in India, it is thought that 50 million people, the Times of India said 50 million people had read Cain and Abel. But there's a disadvantage in India, because you do something no one else in the world does. If you buy a book in Britain, 2.3 people read it. If you buy a book in the United States, 2.4 people read it. If you buy a book in India, 10 to 20 people read the same book. I had a guy in my hotel room. He said, "Will you sign my book for me?" I said, "Yes." And he told me the name. I said, "Who's it?" He said, "That's my sister." I said, "Well, how does this work? You buy the book for your sister?" Yeah, he said, "I buy the book. You make it to my sister." And I did. "I give it to my mother. My mother reads it. She gives it to my sister. My sister reads it, and she gives it to me. I get it third. And then my brother gets it fourth." I said, "This is not helping me one little bit. You should all be buying a book each." And it gets worse, because I was getting off the plane in Mumbai about 10 years ago. A little boy came up and knocked on the window. He had a pile of books. I wound down the window, and he said, "Would you like the latest Jeffery Archer?" I said, "I am the latest Jeffery Archer." So I came to writing by a mistake, but it's been a great privilege, because I am not a writer. I am a storyteller. I tell stories that begin once upon a time, and I pray you will turn the page. Great writers are a different breed. They win Nobel Prizes. They win other prizes. Storytellers are born, and it's a God-given gift. And many people ask me in this country, they say, "Who is your favorite writer in India?" And I always say, it's not the sacred cows. It's not the great Nobel Prize winners. For me, it's R.K. Narayan. I think he is a great writer and a great storyteller. And I think he should have won the Nobel Prize. So what I'm getting at is, there are two worlds, the writer and the storyteller, and I am a storyteller. But I know in India, and I'm very conscious of it among the young, there are an amazing amount of young people who want to write a book. So I'm going to ask you now to put your hands up in the air and tell me, who has thought about writing a book? Yes. Here's a brave question, because I wouldn't dare ask this question in England. Who has actually written a book? Still amazing. You wouldn't get one hand up in England. Here's the cruel facts, and I don't want you to be frightened, because I do want you to want to go on being a writer. This is very important. One of you could capture your whole country. For every 1,000 books that are sent to publishers, one is published. For every 1,000 books that are published, one gets onto the bestsellers list. For every 1,000 books that get onto the bestsellers list, one gets to #1. It's cruel and tough out there. Those are the facts. But I say to young people, when they come to see me, they say, I want to be a writer, Jeffrey. I want to do what you do. In fact, I was in Chennai about 5 years ago, and a 12-year-old came on stage. 12-year-old girl. I said, come on stage, anyone who wants to ask me questions. So they came on stage. This 12-year-old girl came on stage. And I said, what are you going to do when you leave school? She said, I'm going to sell more books than you. She'd already written a book at the age of 12. So when I went back to Chennai when she was 14, she came back on stage. I said, what are you going to do? She said, I'm going to sell more books than you. And I saw her at 16. She is still determined to do it. So you need that determination. But I said to her, and I say to all people, all young people who come to see me, wow, it's wonderful you want to write a book, and it's terrific, and you must do it. Then I say to people from all over the world, what should I do next, Jeffrey? And then I say, I want you to go to the ballet. And they say, what do you mean you want me to go to the ballet? I want you to go to the Bolshoi. I want you to see the prima ballerina. And when she's dancing, I want you to think how many hours and years she has spent to be the prima ballerina. And then I want you to look behind her and see all the girls who are dancing and how many years they have spent wanting to be on stage with the prima ballerina. Then I want you to think about all the girls who aren't even on the stage, who've done hours of work. It's no different for a writer. You've still got to work damned hard. I rise at 5:30 in the morning, and I work from 6 until 8. I take a 2-hour break, and then I work from 10 until 12. I take a 2-hour break. I work from 2 until 4. I take a 2-hour break. I work from 6 until 8. I'm in bed by 10 o'clock. And I'm at it again at 5:30 the next morning, because I'm determined that 12-year-old girl will not beat me. I have to fight damned hard to make sure she won't beat me, because if there's one thing I know about young Indian women, they work harder than anybody I've ever met in my life. So if God has given you the talent, you're lucky. And whatever that talent may be, you're lucky. But it does not mean you can do well with that talent if you are not willing to work very hard indeed. I kill people who don't work very hard indeed. They are easy. I will beat them one by one. So you have really got to slave when you leave. And you have an opportunity in this country, because I I genuinely believe I see it in front of me. The next generation of Indians are terrifying. I spoke at the Royal College of Surgeons in London a month ago. In the room were the finest surgeons in the country. 1/3 of them Indians. In London, not in Delhi, 1/3 of them Indians. Now, you're all too young, I don't mean this rudely, to understand what I'm about to tell you, but it's something of pride, so I tell it to you. 6 years ago, it was discovered that I had prostate cancer, and that if I didn't have it all dug out, I would die. And I wanted to live. Surprise, surprise. I wanted to go on writing. And my wife, who I will come on to for a moment for the girls, my wife was running Cambridge University's hospital. She was the chairman of Cambridge University's hospital. And she said, the best surgeon who will save your life is Mr. Shah. What a surprise. I am still alive because of an Indian. Thank you very much indeed. Now, I mentioned my wife, girls, so pay attention, because your generation has a far better opportunity in India than any girls have had in the past. This moldy old lot sitting in the front row, they had to fight for what they got. You have a much better chance. Now, my wife, I met my wife when I was at Oxford, Mary, and we've been married for 53 years. And I have to tell you, it's been the greatest privilege of my life. She's had a truly remarkable career. So pay attention, girls. Stop squabbling with each other. Pay attention. She left Oxford with a double first at the age of 20. She went on to teach at Somerville College, Oxford, where your great Mrs. Gandhi was educated. She then went to Cambridge and became the first woman to teach at Trinity, Cambridge. They'd never had a woman before. And then at the age of 40, going back to the point I made at the beginning, she sat down one morning and said to me, I've got to make a change in life. I've been teaching chemistry. I've been doing chemistry all my life. I've got to make a change. I said, but you're about to become a professor. You're about to dominate this university. No, no, she said. I'm going to do something different. And she went on the board of Cambridge University's hospital, a hospital that has 3,000 patients and a £700 million turnover a year. She became the deputy chairman and then the chairman of the hospital. And the hospital won the best hospital in Great Britain twice in her last 3 years as chairman. And the Queen made her a Dame. So she's now Dame Mary Archer. She thought that was the end of her career, because she was of an age that she thought, having done 10 years at the hospital and the Queen having made her a Dame, time to go. No, the Prime Minister then decided that he would make her chairman of the Science Museum. And she became the first woman ever to chair a national gallery or museum in Great Britain. So girls, listen to me, girls. She didn't have the advantage you have. She had to fight every inch of the way. But I will tell you, boys, you're in trouble. Because the next generation in India belongs to the girls. Mind you, they'll never captain the Indian cricket team, so don't worry, chaps. Stick in the nets, you'll be all right. So what I'm going to do now, Director, is I'm going to take questions before I do my ending, because I always find that what the children say to me, I learn just as much as they do. And I'll tell you a secret, Director. Grown-ups ask questions because they want to tell you how clever they are with their clever question. Children ask questions that deserve to be answered. It's one of the great differences. So someone come, oh, you're already there. Who are you?
I'm going to be taking questions.
What's the point of you? What's the point of her? We've asked. Right, you're going to do the questions. Barry, how many are there going to be?
How many do you want?
Let's see how it goes. Off you go. So you stand up, you tell me your name, and then you read the question. You read it, do you?
They'll ask.
Oh, good. Good.
The first question is from New Era Public School, Anugya Chaube. May I request you to please